All right. Well, so things have been going pretty well. I know Henrique. We're just going to talk a little tech starting off here. I was able to do some stuff on Sunday to get a lot of the bridging code done. It's not complete yet, but it's really, really close. And that is kind of the last two steps for us. Well, there's actually three steps. Three parallel things are going on right now. One is to bridge the tokens from the testnet contracts to smart contracts. This doesn't mean the testnet's quite ready yet, but it's a big step in it. The contracts are launched, and all we're doing right now is trying to, when somebody deposits money or starts a job, an AI job, is to deposit those tokens or start put the job on the Super Genius network and bridge those tokens from the Ethereum smart contract or the Polygon test smart contracts into Super Genius. And the second part of that is that Enrique's working on one of our, and you are working on too, is the ZK snarks to verify that that transaction is correct and that other transactions are correct. And that's the security side of things with ZK snarks that you guys are trying to finalize right now. And then I guess the third thing is, which we just had some pretty good news yesterday, where Justin has been working on the he's been working on the I guess the whole punch through and what else? He was doing something else yesterday where he had a good breakthrough. Oh, fixing some of the a bug in the job, writing the databases and syncing the databases for the jobs and things like that. And so that's the next part of it, which is once those three things are good to go and fixed and fully tested, then we'll be able to launch a test net. And it's just around the corner. And I know we keep saying that, but it's just, we're testing the heck out of it and making sure everything works and collaborating. But that's really the last three things that are ready to go. And then the wallet, as soon as we're ready with that, the wallet should be able to hook up fairly quickly. And we can all jump on that, where the wallet will be able to start processing jobs, or the game will start being able to process jobs. We already have the game working, and we already have sort of a test net working, an internal dev test net, where it will actually do the processing and reiterate on the same processing, but just about ready to hook that up. But I'm been a little swamped with kind of other things and stuff like that. And so I apologize. I know we keep saying it's right around the corner, but it is literally, any day now, it'll be like, okay, there it is, and I know you can watch the GitHub and you can see the amount of check-ins. Like if you look at Sunday, I think I checked in like 750 lines of code or something like that. And you have to realize that it's been sitting on my computer for a while and I've been testing it. And so I've been, writing a little code, testing it, writing a little code, testing it, and then I'll check it in, when I'm comfortable that it actually somewhat works. And then I have to do the integration testing. So anything you want to add to that, Brent? I know you've been kind of heads down with Enrique lately with a lot of the ZK snarks, but also other things.
Yeah, I mean, it is the balance of just how much the team wants to get this, out the door, get on the test net, yet at the same time, dealing with the, for example, the bridging, the failure cases. That's something I've been giving attention to, and it sounds like a funny thing to be looking at. The reality is that the success scenario of bridging is actually the easier case to handle. It's a case of one. The breadth of failures that can occur are larger. And this is actually talking to an area of my own expertise, but I have to make certain that all those failure cases have been properly addressed, accounted for, etc. And it's just a how do you say this? Okay, just heads down, keep on going, just keep the legs moving. I guess as they say in Finding Nemo, it'll keep on swimming. So, but that's where we are.
Yeah, so this is the typical things that this is one of the reasons that I am always successful in completing a project, because a lot of people would have given up by now. The last 1% is the hardest, but the last 0.001% is like the really hardest part of that. It's like all of a sudden, you're banging on this big rock, and all of a sudden, boom, it just explodes, and okay, we're done. And other people will release code that is half baked or 90% baked, and then, the whole system will just crash. And what good does that do? I know we keep saying that, but in general, this is always how I've released code. Is it's pretty solid when we release it. Not going to say there's no bugs, because this has got such a huge project, but we've done a lot of work on writing tests and everything to make sure that it doesn't break. And the test net is not really like your traditional test net where, we'll launch it and it's really buggy, and, everything else that happens to normal people that launch on, at quick rates and things like that. So it's more of, hey, this is a pretty solid thing that could actually be mainnet, but we're just making absolutely 100% sure that there's no bridging problems or no hacks that can happen before we go mainnet, where people are going to lose real money, right? Right now, it's like, okay, well, you can lose testnet tokens, and then we can replenish them for you, and then if we'll manually bridge those for you when you're earning. So it's really acting like a complete mainnet, but just on test contracts. And I hate to call them test contracts, because it's more like initial kind of launch contracts, that we're doing a slow launch so that we don't have any problems and things like that. And what do you call that, Brent? You've been in the enterprise. I mean, it's not a test net launch, really. It's more of I mean, it does everything we need it on LiveNet, other than, everything's test tokens until we can bridge those manually or flip the switch to bridge those normally.
Well,
And
depending on how much you want to take it seriously or humorously, you call it a beta release, or you could call it a gamma release. There's a history behind those terms, and I won't go into it for those who are in the know, and a little bit of humor in the notion of a gamma release. But the
like the Hulk or something.
yeah, kind of like the Hulk. But the test net, of course, being our opportunity for those who don't know, it's our opportunity to do a demonstration, kind of like, I give the analogy of you take an aircraft that you're designing, and then you roll it out to the runway, and you take it off, you let it go, it goes into the air, flies around the city, and everyone can say, okay, yeah, the plane's working. And of course, but then it turns into, all right, well, now let's move it into the kind of operational capacity where it's actually moving passengers, etc. And I don't know if that analogy is helpful for anyone who's listening, but we want to make certain that the capacity of the Super Genius network really is proper for mainnet, even though we're looking at testnet. We want to be careful not be too eager to just get it to testnet, knowing full well that once on testnet, we're going to want to move rapidly to mainnet. So.
Yeah, so I guess what this is akin to is like launching a rocket ship. If you think about it, you launch a rocket ship with nothing in there, right? To make sure it doesn't explode. And, okay, it explodes 10 times, but the 11th time, okay, now you're good. Okay, now let's put, a monkey or a dog in there, right? Before we put humans in there. So that's kind of the analogy. And then finally you're like, okay, well, this is safe enough for putting humans on there. But it's more of kind of the monetary side of things, other than, putting humans or dogs and monkeys on there. But it's protecting the humans, to make sure they're not scammed or bridged or anything like that. And still, at the same time, the rocket is useful with like a monkey or a dog on it. They can still do stuff, right? They can go out there and launch things and push buttons and be trained to do things. Or nowadays, it could be a robot, right? So we're really kind of putting the robots out there to make sure that you don't get scammed or the security's there. But anyway, it's just, I'm as anxious as everybody else to get this out. I've been at this for 8 years, and I know it's right there, but it's been bugging me for the last, couple months that I just keep seeing things that I'm like, okay, we're going to release this. And then I think I'm getting more comfortable with releasing it as a test net, just because we have kind of the security rails in place with the testnet contracts, the smart contracts, so that we can release something that we think may still have a bug in it, because it's not going to, the rocket ship is ready. Now we just got to, find the right thing to put in there, or it's close to being ready. the engines work, the electronics work, everything works, but they're not assembled. They're close to being assembled. It's like we got the electronics in there, but we haven't hooked up the wire to the engine yet, type of thing, And it's like, okay, well, the engine's like almost done, but I am working on this knob right here because the flow isn't quite what I want it to be. And then once I'm done with that flow being right, okay, then you can hook up the wire, right? And that's kind of where we're at. It's like everything's there, and the rocket could take off, but we don't want to, tweak that or not tweak that knob, and then the engine explodes on takeoff, right? So this is just typical software development, or the way I like to do software development, because then you have a rock solid, rocket solid, I guess, when you take off, even at testnet, when it's empty, right? And then the next step of that is, okay, well, that's a real rocket and it actually works and it's actually functional. And now the next part of it is that, you put humans in space because you want to do testing, you want to take them off to the space station. So I don't mean to sound like we're Elon Musk and, and his rockets and things like that. But really, it is kind of like that because we're on the cutting edge of a lot of stuff in our technology. And so, yeah.
I love the, actually, I'm liking so far that we've, for whatever reason, chosen to follow with this analogy, and that, as Elon says, a, rapid, unplanned, disassembly, a RUD event, those are very instructive, but if you can avoid them in advance, that's fantastic. And as long as we're using the rocket analogy, and, putting a payload on there of a monkey, I guess it would be a monkey NFT. Perhaps. So.
Yeah, an ape. Yeah, a bored ape. We're putting a bored ape on the rocket ship of genius. Well, and I mean, it's a good analogy because, Elon Musk, I mean, they were disappointed when he kind of was launching and a couple of them blew up, right? Or one of them at least blew up. And Tesla stock went down a little bit. But guess what? He kept going and he launched it. He knew, you test stuff and things happen like that. I guess I kind of consider that our exploit on Axler is kind of our rocket ship blowing up, but we're not going to stop, building the rocket ship.
Exactly. Well, Ken, I'm thinking maybe we could transition into questions, unless there's any other kind of preliminary.
No, I know I was ranting a little bit, but I just want to, show people how anxious I am to get this out as well. I'm, people always ask me when. I'm like, I know. I want to know. It should be now. We're heads down doing it, but man, it's right there. It's like as soon as he tweaks that little knob, and I tweak my little knob, and then we go and hook them together, we're all good. So let's go to the question.
Now, I understand that your little knob is an attempt to not be technical. I will say, however, wow, I wish it was just a little knob, because I would say, let's jump off this AMA and let's just tweak that knob right now. Okay, so a little bit of simplification there, but let's see. So what I actually want to do is, given what we've just been discussing, is reverse the number 1 and number 2 question. I'm going to ask the number 2 first, because it just flows right out of what we were just saying. Do we have a date set in stone for testnet launch? If so, can you share? I mean, we kind of already pointed at that.
Yeah, that's what I pointed at. It's very hard to give an exact date. Like I said, we're really close. And I mean, Ethereum does the same thing when they're launching their test contracts, and they get hammered all the time about it. It's like, oh, you guys said it would launch here, and it's like, well, this is software, and we're on the cutting edge, and so is Ethereum on doing ZK EVMs and all the stuff they're doing, and they do launch, but it's I can't give you an exact date. I never can with this kind of thing. I was hoping that we can, but no, I can't do that. It's like software. I mean, I usually hit my dates in regular software, like when I'm developing a video game, where there's known things like, okay, we have an engine, a 3D graphics engine that we know works, and we know how to use it, and we've done it before. The problem is that nobody's done some of the things we've done before, and 3 of the patents go towards that. It's like we're integrating some stuff, and we can do some of it after testnet, but we're trying to get the stuff that is cutting edge out there and finished and working correctly with everything else. And we're damn close, but it's like I could say it could be tomorrow, but I can't guarantee that, because we keep running into these little things with other people's code that we go and fix. And it's like, okay, well, we're 99.999% there. But like I said, that 0.01% usually takes the longest and is the hardest thing. And so it's not like you're building a car and there's been done before. It would be like asking Henry Ford, hey, when's the Model A going to be ready? Right? And he's like, well, we're inventing it and we're, working out the stuff. And I can't give you an exact date because it's never been done before. Right?
I
And
want to
so you don't
capitalize on the
know.
Yeah,
What's
Ken,
that?
exactly what you're saying. I mean, just going to completely echo you. You know, if you're talking about, well, you're remodeling a building and you're, collaborating or you're synchronizing a bunch of workers that are doing the drywall and redoing the floors, etc. So many of those tasks, nothing about those tasks are, I would air quote it and call it, inventive. Everyone knows what it looks like to redo a floor. Everyone knows what it looks like to paint walls. So you can really point to very specific timelines and, your Gantt charts, etc., and say, yeah, the Gantt chart points to this is when we're going to be done. When you are doing software, particularly if you're talking about integrative software, where we're pulling together many systems into one, and it's not been done before, that that means, well, where is your baseline? How do you measure this kind of inventive result against what prior example do you have? The answer is you don't have one. And, Ken used example of the Model A. I might use the example of, Einstein, speaking of super genius, Einstein's, general relativity. You're not going to get Einstein to produce the theory of relativity based on a Gantt chart.
Yeah.
You'll have your next big breakthrough in 7 days, correct? Well, maybe I will, maybe I won't, So it is the nature of the game that we're playing. I think that we've kind of, now Ken, actually, I'm sorry. I got excited and I jumped in on the answer you gave. I really think
Yeah.
you and I together have beat this to death.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, because people are seeing our faces, they're reading our energy, they can tell we're like, go, 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 go. So
And that's why we're doing the AMAs too, to keep you updated. Like, um, because it could be well before the next AMA. It might be two AMAs from now, but it's going to be short. It's going to be, I guarantee it's going to be before the end of the year. I'm hoping it'll be before November. I'm hoping that we'll just have the final breakthrough on everything. I mean, I don't see any roadblocks. I see a little speed bumps going on, and that's the thing, is slowing us down, these speed bumps. But there's no roadblocks, which is good. But anyway, yeah, I think we're beating that one to
So let's go ahead and move on. I'm going to go back to that first question, as I said. And the first question is, can you talk to the recent burn from the team finance proxy contract? Can we expect more burns like this? And if so, is anything currently in the works?
Yeah, so that burn was my decision to basically say, hey, they were basically Genius tokens that we earned from the liquidity pool. And rightfully, they were Genius Ventures, tokens, but the burn was on purpose because of the exploit to kind of reduce, like I said, we're trying to reduce the quantity of tokens that are outstanding on the Ethereum network back down to 1 million where they started instead of the 1.5 million or whatever it got up to. And we've burnt 407,000 so far. So we're getting pretty close. 93,000 left to go. And if we got the exploit money back, we would basically start buying it back and burn those last 93,000 to get us where we need to be. So I could have taken that, and liquidated it into the market so we'd have some money in the treasury, but we had Ethereum in there too as well. And so I made the decision. I'm like, look, let's just burn them because nobody else does that. And even better, when we're on testnet, they're going to start burning even then. So that's going to come down rapidly. But I'm just kind of, because the testnet isn't out and we're not doing burning, I'm just like, okay, let's just burn those out of good faith, show the community that we're serious about getting it back down. I mean, you have to take us serious now. If we said we're going to try to burn the 500,000 and we burned 407,000 so far, you got to take us serious, And so, yeah, in general, that's why we did it. We were locked out of the fees part of it. So it didn't touch the liquidity part of it. It just touched the fees that were in the contract that we had earned over the since March 5th that we launched. And those fees were, when it was trading $10 million a day on Uniswap, we get fees. We get a small percentage of that. fees, those trading fees. And so that actually helped us quite a bit because we did get quite a bit of Ethereum that we can use to, there's some stuff that I talked with Brent about hiring a friend of his to expedite some really cool stuff that we figured out. And I won't tell too much about it. I won't give too much about that. But now I have the capital, the dev capital, additional dev capital to do that. And so that's going to really help us once we launch Testnet to more quickly scale scale our onboarding. Basically, is what that's done for. So it's kind of, I was going to wait till March, 8th until it unlocked and then start doing this stuff. But now that it's unlocked, I can expedite the scaling the scaling of onboarding and the couple things that we talked about, Brent, the kind of cool things that your buddy wants to work on. So
yeah. Shh, secret. All right. So moving on to our next question, and sometimes their order switches around in real time. Let's see. You stuck to your words about marketing, and it has been superb so far. So thank you. Do you plan to embrace other platforms like TikTok and Weibo?
We're going to have to do that eventually because after Testnet launches, we're going to be in the Philippines, and a couple other Asian countries have been talking to us about possibly bringing GNUS over there as soon as Testnet's launched. And that's another reason I really want Testnet to launch as quick as possible, because these guys are trying to set up these meetings with us in Malaysia and the Philippines and all that to onboard. And that's the scaling of, onboarding. That's the issue, and without those funds, we would have had to wait or I would have had to try to sell some over the counter. Now I don't have to worry about trying to sell some of the tokens over the counter to fund the scaling process, right? And so now we've just been, we've increased our speed at which we can scale now with that little bit of funds that we were able to extract. So we will definitely have to start doing other kind of areas, because I was in Singapore, and I was talking with a big group over there, Temasek, something like that. And they were telling me that they were able to kind of get us into the Asian market, specifically into China and things like that, which are big gaming industries that could use our product, and they would help us get over there. But that requires Weibo and TikTok and all that marketing to get people up to speed on GNUS. So yes, we will do that right after Testnet, but that's a scaling issue. We need to scale into different countries, really, is what it is. And so talking about TikTok and Weibo, then, that's when we scale into the Asian countries.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just roll with that and move on to our next one, which is the NexLogic Partnership under NDA. Is GNUS paying NexLogic to use their 200K nodes? And if so, how much?
We are not under an NDA. I don't think we're under an NDA, but we do have an agreement, and it is we're supposed to share marketing and things like that, but I don't think there's no NDA that I can't disclose there. We are not paying them anything for this. We do have an agreement to put in up to $100,000 to help upgrade some of the nodes that will help scale. They have about 10 or 20,000 nodes, I think, that out of the 200,000 that need upgrading. And really, that 100,000 is up to us when we put it in. But in general, how we're paying them is basically they get a percentage of the AI that's being processed on all their nodes. And so there's money in it for them, a recurring revenue stream for all their nodes, basically on the AI that we bring on board to be processed, or the rendering that we bring on board to be processed. So we're not paying them anything other than that. So the 100 grand is basically to upgrade some nodes eventually, and we'll probably take that 100 grand out of the earnings that we do through them or through other nodes. When we take our 10%, then we'll probably give them the 100 grand to upgrade, the 10 or 20,000 nodes that they need to upgrade.
Okay, perfect. I think we got that captured. So moving on. How much in total was claimed from the accumulated fees in Uniswap? Can some of it also be used to update and correct the listings on CMC, CoinGecko, and DEX tools?
Yeah, so the total was about 880,000. 330,000 of that was, of course, the Genius tokens, which we burnt. So we basically burnt $330,000. You're welcome, community. That's uh, it's like, look, they were Genius tokens. Yeah, they were worth all that, but I don't want to flood the market. I told you that we would not flood the market with our tokens and do things like that, which are typical rugs on projects. I'm not going to do that to the community. But yeah, so we ended up with about 500,000 in ETH for doing things. The coin market cap stuff, we do have. That's kind of, I don't feel that that's really necessary per se, but we will update it eventually. I just don't feel like we should, I'd rather pay my a new engineer $5,000 than to pay Coin Market Cap to change a label. But there are other ways to do it, and I have somebody that I can hire for about $1,000 to fix all that stuff, and so maybe it's $2,000, but it's a lot cheaper than just they're extortion, and I refuse to pay extortion. $5,000 to expedite it, and all they do is go in there and add a label to your thing, and it's like, okay, but it's like changing a button on a website. Okay, great. Is that going to get you another investor? Maybe not. Who knows? And so to me, it's not worth paying the extortion fee to do that. But we'll still move forward with doing it eventually. And I have somebody that is able to bypass the extortion that all these people have to put the word DPIN on our coin market cap profile.
Hey, all right. I think that handles that one well, and we'll move on to when do we start the marketing campaign?
That's already going on, actually. And so in the next couple weeks, you'll see a really big kind of push. We've been heads down on Testnet, but a little bit of my time has been spent on kind of getting the right marketing lined up for when we do launch Testnet. But there's a bunch of stuff going on. I mean, I was at Orbis 86 event in Los Angeles on Monday, and I didn't get back till 3 o'clock in the morning because my flight was delayed. 1 day trip down to LA, and basically in front of about 200 people that were looking at crypto space. So that's a good marketing because they tell two friends and they tell two friends, and it's kind of guerrilla ground, boots on the ground kind of marketing. So this is going on right now. And in fact, in November, I'm actually looking at 2 conferences that are very big to go and talk at, and we're being invited to actually be on panels and talk about impact investing and how Genius can help the AI for good. It's called, on this one conference with a couple hundred institutional investors, in a big room talking about Genius AI. And so these guys are like serious investment things that are going on. And this is the thing I've been kind of avoiding. So we have the coal marketing going on right now for the rest of the community, on X, and we'll start doing YouTube videos. And this AMA is part of the marketing too. It's like, look, well, it's kind of the education process more than anything else. But the dog and pony shows I've been avoiding to try to get Testnet done first. But I keep getting hammered. Hey, you got to come down here. You got to talk to this group. You got to talk to that group. And I've done this before, in 2000, early 2000s, mid 2000s with another public company. And we call them dog and pony shows. And they're exhausting and they take a lot of time. But, you have to do it. But Testnet first. Testnet first. Damn it.
Yes, I like that answer. Okay. With that, we'll go to next, which is, if LP is now being used to pay devs, how were they being paid before? Also, how are other team members being paid? Monthly salaries or Genius coins?
Yes and yes. Yeah. So they're paying both, paying monthly salaries and Genius tokens. And, it's from one very, very nice founder using his 401k and his other investment portfolios basically to pay everybody until this unlocked. So guess what? It was all me. And coming out of my trading profits and my 401k, and yeah, so that's how that works. Now that we have 500,000, I was able to pay myself back a little bit, but now if I have to put it back in, for some reason, I'll put it back in if I have to.
Okay. Let's see. Next up, the TV show will be available. Oh, wait a minute. This question's worded a little funny. This is presumably talking about Kryptonites. The Kryptonites TV show will be available first on which provider? YouTube, TV channel, from all countries, or will it be available only on a TV channel?
Yeah, so we don't know exactly. They have to shop it around. The way the industry works is that you make a season or two. Some places that syndicate, it's called syndication, and some places that syndicate it and put it out there need like 4 seasons before they'll even talk to you. But not everybody. Like YouTube and Amazon TV are talking. They're in talks right now to put it on Netflix or Amazon TV or the Fire TV or whatever it is. And it could be Apple TV. I don't know their internal what they're doing, but they basically did the first season, and then they go out and they shop it around. That's how that industry works. And they go to these different events and things and show it off, and then they're in talks with a bunch of different ones. So I don't know who it's going to be on first. You'll have to ask Rightstream about that, and you can get on their Telegram, and they talk all about it and what the progress is. And so I haven't been following it because I've been working on Testnet.
I will say that this is kind of stale information, and because it's probably updated since, but at the time of the filming, I had heard that there would be like some kind of limited market to which it would enter into in November, and then it wouldn't be until February before it would expand. And that limited market, the impression I had was that was some kind of Asian market. Maybe it was just in Malaysia. I don't know. Beyond that, don't know. So
yeah, and they said their prediction is, the funny thing is weird because I'm not used to this, is that it will be like a year and a half running. So it's like constantly on new channels, and it builds up over time. And they said its target is like 100 million views or 100 million people that will end up viewing it eventually. So what will happen is it'll be like on a small, like you said, a Malaysian market, and then they'll expand it, and then it'll be on Malaysian in Europe or something, or it'll expand in a couple Malaysian countries and then expand from there. And I didn't know anything about that business, how that worked. Talk about onboarding and a lengthy onboarding process, right? And so we could see that by he said something like a year and a half, you'd end up seeing that like the end of 2025 or something like that. Then it would like be completely out there on mass market and hit 100 million views. But it would like hit 1 or 2 million first, and then, another 2 million. And then all of a sudden, boom, it'll go global. And that's how that works. That business works apparently. Now, don't take my word on it. That's just what I heard. And I have no idea how that works. So I don't pretend to know, but that's just how I heard it.
Yeah, and it's interesting is that, even presuming that the information I gave was correct, that, it goes into much wider markets in February, then you still have to, ask the question, okay, great. So it went to wider markets. And if they've got, 18 episodes, which episode did they place us inside of? The third, the 15th? I don't know.
Yeah, they planned on putting us in the third for sure. But I just got a message from them about the editing is right now ongoing, and there's some edits for our particular show that they're working on, and they're editing it for us to look favorable, of course, which is great. I mean, they should they should do it favorable for everybody, but you have to realize a lot of the why people watch a lot of these things is not to look favorable. It's for the drama, which I hate. It's like, oh, hey, look at this, what this guy's doing. Look what's happening to him. Ha, ha, ha. It's like, oh, yeah. Great. So there was a lot of drama. So luckily it wasn't on our side of things. Oh, well, they could make it look like a couple of my points to the Kryptonites was pretty dramatic, I think, at times. But the
Yeah,
look
there
on
was
their
a
face a couple times. I won't go into too much detail, but the look on their face when I said a couple things, they were like, oh, one of them went, right? Brent, you're watching me, went,
yeah, and there was a certain amount of stubbornness from at least one
yeah.
of the Kryptonites that just but we shouldn't say any more than that because watch the episode. Ken said that we were episode 3. Actually, it's a good point. Is that they did give us slots as all the filming rolled out over the course of a week or so, and they said, you're going to be 3, you're going to be 4, you're going to be 5, and I actually kind of take that a bit with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, it
what they were
changes. They can
labeling
change it.
us for the sake of what
Yeah.
slot we were in for filming. What they actually release it as, who knows?
Yeah,
Um,
that's all the editing process. They're going to basically say, oh, this one's going to make a good starter episode, and then this one's going to draw people in for episode 2. So they're going to switch it all up. So yeah, they said maybe 3. Yeah, yeah, you're right.
So we'll go ahead and roll into the next question here, which is what are the marketing plans and strategies? What is the budget and how much is allocated to calls? Are they paid in ETH or supply?
So yeah, there's quite a bit of budget, but the amount is in Genius tokens, really, and so um, like the amount of tokens is very minimal, and they're locked out. So we're doing some pretty good deals where it's not going to flood the market ever. I won't let that happen, and it's only a couple thousand tokens, maybe. Let's see, probably one coal to start out is probably a total of 8,000 tokens, but we're starting out only with 2,500 tokens to see how it goes. This particular coal, is a monster in the industry. He's like 8th largest influencer in the crypto space. So take that as you will. We're being very careful with our community's tokens, not to flood the market, making sure that we can get a good deal and a lot of exposure. And so far, we've been doing pretty good. We have a great team that has been getting us some fantastic deals with this. And we've turned people down. They're coming, they're like, no, we want $10,000 up front. And we're like, nope, not going to happen. We got a better deal with a much better coal than you. And they're like, okay, have a good day. And that's fine. It's like, you got to kind of shop it around. And so we're being very, if you realize anything about me, is I am so conservative when it comes to this kind of stuff, and I don't even paying $5,000, in extortion money. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's ridiculous. I don't see the ROI on it. And you have to realize it not only comes because I've spent 8 years of my money into this, so I do treat it like my money. But even when I had a public company, I did the same thing, even when it wasn't my money, because I want us to be a success, and I want this to be a long-term, money machine for us or a forever income, not necessarily, a money machine where, we're the wealthiest people on the planet or anything like that. I think that might happen, but more of just, hey, I want this to last forever so I can sit there and do AI for good and then make video games or something like that, because I'm at the end of my career and I don't want to go work and make other people millions of dollars when I can make us millions of dollars.
Hey, good energy on that one, and move on to the next question. Is it possible to have access to some feature before the launch of Testnet, like just a wallet or just a node, if it could help to do some sanity check?
Yeah, actually, we could probably do that. Actually, I mean, I don't mind that at all. Um, yeah, we could use some QA people. The good news is that your job is going to be fairly easy because we write tests, and a lot of the stuff is, well, yeah, we can give it to you and show you, but you're not going to find much there. But you could always give feedback and things like that, and kind of see. I mean, you can look at our GitHub and um, we can invite people into our GitHub as testers, but in reality, I do things differently. I don't do the usual, hey, let's push the product, put it out and then get a QA department together and a bunch of tests. But I welcome people to come in and kind of give feedback and, help us prioritize or look at things and say, hey, there's a quicker way to do this, or, hey, I realize that this is not a good user interface, but we've been testing that pretty well. So, but sure. yeah, let's, if anybody wants, I'd have to get one of the admins to kind of run that, and that's fine. But yeah, we could invite you into the GitHub and give you releases from the team and things like that, and join that. But we don't want to take too many people because that's kind of get in our way of finishing off testnet. But if I offload it to one of the admins and they can bring on some people and kind of get them interested, that's fine. What do you think, Brent?
I just want to, yeah, caveat though what you're saying, because testnet is such a priority. I would not want, something like that to turn into an unexpected, mini onboarding.
Yeah,
It's got to be something that's really smooth and from a time perspective inexpensive, because we've really got to stay focused. And of course, we
yeah.
appreciate the people participating, and you will. But we're just so, how should we say this, eager to just cross the line into testnet that, I don't make certain nothing is disturbing the water.
Yeah, we don't want somebody tripping us up at the finish line. I agree. In fact, some people have offered about the smart contract things, and I'm like, look, unless they can go in and look at the smart contracts and come back and write the test without me talking to them, it's a no go, because I have to finish testnet, and I'm hyper focused on that. And so, I had a discussion with one person who came on, and they're like, oh, you should be doing this and you should be doing that on your testing and how you test. And I'm like, no, that's not correct. And I disagree with how you're proposing that. Just because you think that's the easiest way to do something, sorry, that doesn't work for me. And two, I'm not going to switch our whole testing system just because you aren't experienced in the way I like to do stuff, because this is a complete different paradigm of software development that people aren't used to. And it's like, no, we're not going to, that will slow us down. And we're on a train running 90 miles, running at 200 miles an hour, a bullet train, and you're asking us to stop at a station, and we're destined for a test net. We can't stop. Sorry. And, great to talk to you for a brief 5 minutes, but, sorry, I got to get back on testnet, and no, maybe after testnet, but I'm not going to switch up stuff, after 8 years of development because you think there's a better way to do something, which Brent and I absolutely know that's not the right way to do something, right? It's just, they don't do functional testing. So the breakdown is basically, they were saying, oh, you should just do unit tests in Solidity, instead of having TypeScript and, as another testing system with Mocha and all that. I'm just like, no, you don't understand. That's unit testing, and that's the old school or the bad way to do it, because if you're not doing functional testing, then you have to have a QA cycle. Right? And it's like, no, we're building in the QA cycle with functional testing. That's what you called it, Brent, right? Functional testing.
Well, there's a number of names for it. I've heard it called desktop testing. I have often called it the fast integration testing or fit testing.
Yeah, fit testing. There you go. I like that.
And yeah, it is something that, halfway through my career, I found to be by far the most effective way to not only have the most robust code, but to get it out to delivery, to lessen lead times. And it's of such value that I wouldn't change it for anything else. So.
Yeah, and so just real briefly, kind of the story behind all of this is during my whole entire career writing games and things like that, what fit testing does, and I've always done this, and unit testing goes hand in hand with fit testing. You do unit testing first, and then the fit testing secondarily. It reduces the QA cycle down to zero. So that's the reason I keep saying that testnet is really mainnet, is because the QA cycle is going to be almost zero. And it always has been my whole career. I mean, I did the Immortal in 5 weeks, and there was one bug. I fixed it. There was another bug. I fixed that, and it shipped. You talk about, nobody believes that, but I can document that. And I don't like QA cycles, and everybody else is like, hey, if you just, take on the technical debt originally, and not do the fit testing, then, you can get to market quicker. Well, no, you can't, because then you have a QA cycle and things are broken. And so, yeah, it's like, oh, I bought a bike that doesn't have a wheel. Yeah. Okay. I have a bicycle, but I can't use it because I don't have a wheel. Now I got to sit there and go, find a wheel or repair the wheel. And anyway, I get tired of people not, well, I don't get tired of it because I always get stuff done, and I will never go back to having long QA cycles because it is the worst. It just gives me a headache and just it's so depressing to be in long QA cycles.
Well, I'll go ahead and cast this a little differently and about how there is flow. And many of you are familiar with flow, and you don't want to have your focus interrupted. It doesn't matter if you're a software developer or if you're engaged in some other endeavor. And when Ken keeps on making these references to QA cycles, a lot of that just comes down to the interruption from, your effort to make the code work and to wait. You have to go through a waiting process. There is nothing more destructive to productivity than having to keep on popping out of flow. When you're in a situation with fit testing that, for example, I'm modifying some code and then right there I can hit a button and test my code against a Sybil attack. 100 nodes, 1,000 nodes that are attempting to penetrate what I have devised. And I have my answer, in 6 seconds. And I go, okay, all right, this code is correct or it's not correct. We've got to revise it again. How do you top that? So I'll kind of throw it that way. Now I'll say this. Go ahead, Ken.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, we have those kind of tests in our system, right? And our smart contracts have that kind of testing in there. That's why the audits went so smooth. And I said that last time, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, I think what we'll do is, although we don't have a limit, we don't have to be within 1 hour. Nevertheless, I think it's kind of a good goal to see if we could just move through.
Yeah, let's move through it.
Okay. My little marker is where I left off for whatever reason disappeared. So let's see. I think where we are is this one. NexLogic has a quiet digital profile. How can we measure progress with NexLogic? Is there a plan if NexLogic can't deliver the initial nodes? Or am I jumping at shadows?
They can deliver the nodes. So we will, they have a small digital profile, but that's because they're heads down doing stuff. And we've already done a lot with them and actually proven that it works. And I'll show you something really quick. This is like a NexLogic type of box, and this is called an orange pie. And what this is this is the one side of the NexLogic box. On the other side of this, they have their networking stuff that's hooked up. So, it's not that we're in contact with them, but as soon as Testnet, then this is an onboarding ramp up process. This is not, hey, NexLogic, you need to do anything really. What they need to do is install our software on these devices. And we've already tried that and Justin's done it. And so they're sending us a device too, but this is really their device as well, one side of their device. And we got all the specs on everything and they're sending us a device. So, you're jumping at shadows really, because really when the testnet's done, we've already tested it on this and we've shown that this works behind the scenes and we actually pushed out a video on that. So in general, I have no concerns on that.
All right. Moving right along. Look how speedy we are. In talking with whales, some have still expressed concern over the hack. Where are we at with security, and why are these doubting whales wrong? I guess they want to hear an answer of why they're wrong.
That's why we're taking so long to get testnet out, right? Is because we're making sure that security. And I don't know what the doubting whales are saying. What, we're going to have another exploit and another hack, or I'm trying to hammer the Department of Homeland Security, and thanks Chris for sending out the email. Chris is one of our admins out in New York who is working with the Department of Homeland Security, but he's not technical, and he's asked them to set up they kind of need to trace the funds and make sure that they're ours, right? And we have a discrepancy between where we think our funds are and where they think the funds are, especially at OKX. But it's working with the government, and it's like pulling teeth. And we've been so focused on testnet that I haven't taken the time to really, really push, because I have to go in there and I have to bring a couple of our tech guys in there to show kind of where the funds are. But if that's what they're worried about, us having another exploit, I can't guarantee that's not going to happen, but we're doing everything in our power. And that's why it's taking so long. And that's why we're going out on testnet first. Testnet really allows us to block out. It's like a big old firewall, for us. And the firewall is, sorry, they're testnet tokens. They're worthless. But if you want to extract them, then we'll say, okay, yeah, you can extract it. Oh no, you're a hacker. I don't know where you got those testnet tokens from, but forget you. You're not getting those. And that's what we're doing. Is the testnet is our big old firewall. And so I really, really I guess we should call it, instead of testnet, firewall net or something, or instead of main net. Yeah, it's our firewall net, and then it's not an automated firewall yet. It's a manual firewall, is what it is.
I also want to talk to this, a bit about earlier in this AMA. I had made comment about failure cases. That a success case is a case of one. Like for example, you're bridging tokens. What are all the ways in which it can go wrong? This is actually a pointed area of expertise for me. This is a key area I was tapped into by American Express, no less, for smart contract capability that they were building. So if you're looking for someone who's going to build something solid to prevent those attacks, here he is. So I'm really delighted to be, on this project and applying my skills precisely to that area. And if I wanted to ensure that this was going to go smoothly, I have someone in mind. Oh yeah, I'm talking already. It's me. So anyway, that would be
That's why we were hired, Brent. I mean, that and other things. I mean, you've been a good friend for quite a few years, so and I know you.
That.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that to the whales. I mean, this is, how should we say this? Precisely my wheelhouse, me personally. So
yeah, we're not you're not an amateur, trying to do security stuff. You've been through this with big corporations and enterprise things, and so that should assure the doubting whales, or the whatever you called them. It's like, okay, yeah. Do you want Elon Musk building you a rocket, or do you want somebody else building you a rocket? Who are you going to trust more? Somebody that's an expert and has done it, at big enterprise corporations, or do you want I don't know, Vitalik Buterin building you a rocket ship, right?
And with all this said, I'm glad, Ken, that you said that, no, we cannot guarantee there would not be another exploit. I mean, this is the same thing that applies to any blockchain. How does a blockchain, guarantee, okay, well, we've had this one, but in the next, 5 years, 20 years, there will not be another. Well, it's more of the diligence and the research put in preemptively to maintain and improve the hardness of that chain, and otherwise relying upon the value of what is the underlying product to carry you through those difficult times should they happen. And I think we don't need to explain even to our listeners the value, because they already understand. That's why you're on the call, the value of this network. So it's going to carry forward. And I personally am not losing sleep over, but what if we get exploited again? It's like, no. So
yeah, and one of the other things that I just want to point out is the reason that I went through and wrote the EIP 2535 smart contracts was because when you have immutable smart contracts, you can't upgrade security. And I think that is a big mistake. And granted, it was for trust, right? It's like, hey, if anybody can make a smart contract, you have to make it immutable, because then you can get rugged. Well, you know how I solved that? We're doxxed, right? And so we're not anonymous. And so we're here, and if a security hack happens and you think we did it, you can quickly figure it out on the exploit. We showed you that there was no way that we could have done that, right? Maybe one of our devs did do it, but it doesn't look like it. It was an exploit on finding one of our deployment keys, but in general, it was an exploit on the Axler contracts. And it really had nothing to do with us. And then the exploit it drained the liquidity pool, which was a temporary setback, but everybody's tokens were safe, right? Yeah, it went down from 25, went up to 197 and went down to $1 basically, or whatever. Now it's back at 850. And so it's one of the reasons, the biggest reason, I mean, I couldn't imagine if you had immutable contracts, how long it would take to recover from that exploit. Launching a new contract, moving everybody over. We didn't have to do any of that because we used a proxy upgradable contract. And everybody's in the industry, in the crypto industry, is worried about the mutability of a smart contract only because there's so much anonymity in the industry that anybody can create a smart contract and scam you out of that. So the reason we're doxxed is so that we can upgrade and make sure that the security, if anything little happens, we can instantly or more quickly than everybody else correct the problem.
All right, so Ken, I'm going to kind of interject here. Looking at our list, it looks like a lot of questions were rolling in during the AMA. So, the whole, oh, we're at the end of the tunnel turned into, wait, the tunnel just got a heck of a lot longer. And here's what I'm thinking.
We can roll some of those over to the next AMA.
Yeah, I would like to, we can go through some more. I do want to get away from the, we simply go as long as it takes to go through all the questions because, if that turns into an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, it's like,
Yeah,
there is a test. Yeah, so it's taking time. So let's see, already we're kind of gotten to some of the weeds of the questions here. Like, someone's asking, are we getting listed on any major exchanges anytime soon? Either we just say, we've looked at this before, something very brief, but let's see if we can just get through like 7 more, and then maybe start to wrap up.
We'll make them like 1 or 2 answer questions. So for that one, we discussed this before, and Coinbase is our kind of target, and I've already been talking with a partner of ours on trying to get the funds in to actually do that, because a lot of the institutions, you can buy our token, but it's a lot harder. And so we want to get on Coinbase in the next, 6 months or something like that. So, but not any, it depends on what your definition of anytime soon is. It'll happen, soon, in my opinion. 6 months is soon.
So we'll just take that as an answer. We'll move on.
Yeah.
When will we bridge to base? I'll give my own fast answer to that. It's not on my top 3 list of priorities as to we've got to bridge to base. That's an L2. It's got optimistic rollups, and it's one of so many that we could indeed add to a laundry list of chains to bridge to.
We're already on base.
We're already on base.
Yeah, we're already on base.
Bridging.
So it's one of the smart contracts that was launched, one of the 4. It's Binance BSC, Binance Smart Contracts, Binance Smart BSC, they call it, Base, Polygon, and Ethereum. So we're already on Base. He's just talking about the bridging, and I know where this is coming from, but you'll be able to bridge into and out of the Base Sepolia, which is the testnet, and then once mainnet launches, you'll be able to bridge between Base and any of the others. So it's there already.
Certainly we're going to have a whole suite of things that we're going to be able to bridge to, given the ERC20 support, etc. So, and EVM compatibility. So let's move on. You mentioned Kryptonite's not fully understanding the full scope of the project, what you guys are pitching. Should we still be bullish over the airing? I would prefer we kind of move through this. We've talked a lot about Kryptonites, and I don't think we want to give it much more. I think we really already covered.
Actually, I will briefly say that I believe it is actually, even though there was some tension and things like that, I do think it was actually very bullish, because the amount of investment that they were willing to make was nowhere near kind of where we are. And so just saying that alone should make you bullish about, we are so far above where their investment thesis is that, it's very bullish for us. But it helps us get exposure, really. So it's bullish on both fronts.
Okay, moving right along rapidly. A recent post on X says fees will be used for price support. This kind of goes against what has been said in past about not caring about price. Why the change?
Well, in price support, it's not, I guess that was kind of not really a misstatement, but in price support, we mean liquidity support. So we put the ETH back in there in the liquidity support, which kind of supports the price. It supports the volatility. is what it does. And so it's like we put it in there to have more liquidity so that when people wanted to trade it, it doesn't drive it into the ground. And so that's what we mean by price support, is like more liquidity than trying to actually manipulate the price by buying more tokens. And so price support can mean, two different things. We're not trying to manipulate the price. We're just, hey, here's some more liquidity in there so that, if people want to, if somebody wanted to come in and sell, $10,000 worth, it's not going to drop the price by 30%. And that's what we mean by price support. And not that I care about the price. It's just, I care about the volatility, of course, because that people get dejected and don't want to come in because they're like, oh, this thing, can move down 30% in one day or whatever. So I don't really care about the price per se, but I care about the volatility of the price. So good answer. Next question.
Next question. I'm actually going to skip a couple because I believe that we've effectively have already answered them, dealing with the frozen hack funds and, how much longer till testnet. So I'm going to move down to how much could price increase through 10% burns and 200K NexLogic nodes?
Well, so I will quickly say that go look at machinations.io. We have put out the simulation, and go change the numbers in there and put the simulation in there that you can change and tweak all the levers that you want, and you can put that information in there and figure it out. Sorry, I'm going to focus on testnet. I worked on that simulation 3-4 years ago, and I don't want to go upgrade it. You guys go figure it out, please. Somebody can do it. I don't want to do it.
In the interest of expediency, I might skip my favorite question here. What's 9 plus 10? That's going to computationally. You have to carry the 1. It's 911 when you carry the 1. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Next question. Could you
21, right? That's the mean. 21.
I see a question. How are coins burnt? I mean, I might want to move to some of these, try to sort these a bit. Let's see, competitive advantages for the patents of GNUS in the crypto space. We've covered that in a number of the AMAs, and considerable advantage, given that we can say that we're the first, we're the only in that sense. Ken, I don't know if you want to add that, or if we want to just kind of move through.
Yeah, no, real quick, that there is going to be some reach out to some of the other companies and patent sharing, at least on one company that I found. But the other ones that are strictly violating everything Genius is, and not even, I don't know, they're just kind of copying us. That's going to be a problem for the patent. But everybody else is working forward and we can use their nodes. There's going to be some kind of cross-licensing thing that we're going to go after or work out with them. I'm interested in moving the industry forward, and making sure that we can continue to do our work and people aren't trying to copy us, and the VCs aren't trying to copy us and do what we're doing. And I already know one company that is basically copying us that we're going to talk to.
I'm going to move into another. I'm kind of sifting through these a bit, and I see a question here. How's your health, Ken? Hope all is good.
Yeah, it's actually going really well. I've been kind of correcting things for about a month, and I feel great now. In fact, I'm starting to. If you look at my code check-ins, Brent, you'll see what's happening. And so the gut's being healed, and so the mind's actually able to focus and do a lot more work. So that's why I'm excited about testnet and want to get back to it, is because I'm on fire right now with finishing this up, and the health is not affecting that. In fact, I feel like I'm better off than I was even before my health issue.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt that at all. I wouldn't doubt that at all. The whole gut biome issue, which is affecting such a massive swath of the U.S. population, European population. When it gets to that point where it's so bad you have to address it, great. But once you get through that, then you're in a position to say, oh my gosh, I feel 200% better than I did, before. It's so.
Yeah, I didn't know that my gut was like being that detrimental to my brain.
Yeah. It's your second brain. Let's see. We're dates on testnet again. But seeing what. Let's see. Here's one. Is Genius hiring for any high or low level positions? My little slug would be, if you're a C++ god, maybe we have a conversation with you.
Well, that's the biggest issue is that I have people like I was at the thing in LA and they're like, oh, we have an engineer that you can use, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, does he know C++? Oh, yeah, he knows C++. And then he shows me a website that he designed. And I'm like, yeah, okay. The problem is people are like, oh, I have a really great engineer that's done a lot of work for us. And yeah, he's done a game for us too. And I'm, oh, okay, great. So maybe he knows C++. What engine is he using? Oh, he's using our own. What do you mean? Our own. You designed a 3D engine? Oh, no. But, it's our own on top of, something. And I'm like, okay, which 3D? Is it Unreal or is it Unity? Oh, it's Unreal. Oh, okay. So maybe he knows C++, but there's other ways to build a game without knowing C++ on Unreal, something called Blueprints. Anyway, I digress. So in general, it's like, look, yeah, we'll hire, but, you have to prove yourself before I'll even talk to you. It's like, go look at our repos, right? Go look at, where you can contribute. Like if you go look at the smart contracts and if you could upgrade I upgraded the smart contracts on a certain branch. And if you know about branches and you know how to go find it and you say, hey, Ken, you didn't finish off writing all the tests for that. I can go write these tests because I'm a TypeScript expert. Go do that. If you prove yourself, and you come back to me and say, hey, look, here's this. I don't have to be onboarded. I'll hire you probably, right? Because otherwise I have to do it. If I can not onboard you and you can come in and go, hey, I know C++ and you can contribute to our open source stuff, you'll be hired pretty quickly. But it can't be me interviewing somebody and getting them up to speed or any of that right now.
So Ken, I think what I'm going to do is boil this down to just maybe one more question because a number of these, they zero up votes and they're a little bit kind of, blended into previous things we've answered. So what I want to do is maybe this one here, which says, have you guys seen what Gaiman have been producing over the last few months? It seems they are doing what you are planning to do. Gaiman as in GAIMIN, Gaiman.
Yeah, so I've known about them for a long time, and that's one of the people that we'll probably talk to about it. If they're doing the exact same thing, which I don't think they are, that's fine, but they don't have their own L1 either. So yeah, they're trying to do it. A lot of people are trying to do this. There's another one that Jensen AI that is doing exactly what we're doing, but they started in 2023 and they're doing all the wrong things that I looked at 5 years ago in their aspect. And I actually had a talk with somebody else that is doing their own L1 and they're kind of just starting, but they're using Rust and they're, basing off of which is not going to work, in general. And they realize they have to have their own L1 for the transaction speed. And we've realized that 5 years ago, and we're just about finished. And everybody else is just like, oh, we tried this. And I said, yeah, we tried that 5 years ago and realized it wasn't going to work. Well, we tried it last year, and now we realize we got to start doing that. And they could sit there and start to borrow our code eventually, but then they're going to run into patent problems, patent infringement problems. So yeah, I know all about Gaiman. They may, we may have to, we can actually probably partner with them and use their nodes.
So I'm going to just kind of bring us to a conclusion here. I want to just say, hey, I appreciate all the questions that we've been given. And some of them we, kind of had to slide through a bit. And I know that, you want to have your questions answered. We certainly are making an effort to do that. At the same time, we also want to kind of exert some discipline on ourselves. The energy here is like, I was talking about flow earlier. It's like, well, we want to get back in the flow because boy, do we want this out the door. So I thank everyone for attending, for listening. Really appreciate the interaction with the community, the questions. Ken, your last thoughts?
No, yeah, and I appreciate it. And look, if you come on to Telegram, you can get your question answered there. But in general, if you want to just keep them on that Slido, I mean, if we answered them, we can delete the ones. And then I think that Slido is the same one every week. And so we can keep those questions on there and I'll have my guys curate them next time, and then we'll just like make a cutoff, and you have to have them there before so that they don't just keep coming in. I mean, this is a live recording, kind of a live stream anyway, so it's okay. But for next time, I think we should just have a cutoff, and then anybody that comes in afterwards, then that can be pushed off to the next week, or we'll just do what we did here, kind of ad hoc, and take the ones we can.
Ken,
Thank you.
really appreciate it. Again, thanks all. Looks like we're going to go ahead and wrap up here, and we will catch you next week.
Yep. Sounds good. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Take care.